Today on Studio One, with one spark, a house can turn into a heap of ashes. Find out new statistics on fires. Also, we'll visit with a woman who knows all about nails. And we'll tell you one woman's history of gaining national attention after going viral.
From the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One, celebrating 25 years.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One. I'm Monty Cashel.
And I'm Katie Fletcher. Well, when there's a gathering of people, there's usually food involved.
Oh, always, right?
And what everyone looks forward to, or at least most people, is that dessert at the end of the meal.
Yeah, even if you're full, you gotta have the dessert.
And I've noticed, with birthday parties, anniversaries, weddings even, it's cake that is the dessert.
Yeah, often the centerpiece of the celebration.
Exactly. Sometimes tears and tears on the cake. And later, we actually get to have a cake decorator on the show, and she's going to create a fall-themed cake, perfect for any gathering.
A work of art, let me tell you. I've seen a preview. Okay, also on the show, a house fire is one of those things most people are prepared for, but never expect to happen. We'll tell you the newest statistics on residential fires.
And space exploration takes a lot of time and preparation. Later, we'll meet a man who finds all that work worthwhile.
Before we get to all of that, here's today's news with Ali Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. Americans are familiar with the success that men like Governor Romney and President Obama had in the election. What some may not have seen is the strides that women candidates made in the polls. Congress gained 6 women in the election. The total number of females is now 20 in the Senate and 77 in the House. New Hampshire will be the first state to have women holding all the top positions, including the senators, representatives, and the governor. Besides gender, many newly elected women are setting first in sexual orientation, race, and religion. In the House, white males will be the minority among Democrats for the first time in history. Another surprise in an election came in Puerto Rico. Over half of the people who voted wanted a change in the relationship with the U.S. In the current system, Puerto Ricans are granted U.S. citizenship but are not allowed to vote for the president. Among the proposed changes, 65% of voters favored statehood. Any change would require approval by the U.S. Congress. Lift this, run over there, and jump on that. All workout routines are different, and most people have an opinion on what works best. Jogging or walking 2 to 4 hours a week is believed to cut the risk of developing metabolic syndrome by 50%. However, a study done by the British Medical Journal has found short, intense workouts might be better. High-intensity workouts increase the heart rate and decrease obesity and high blood pressure. However, fitness experts say you should not give up your leisurely workouts altogether.
I would suggest whatever you have time for. If you have time to go for a nice, long, slow run or a walk, by all means do so. But if you don't have very much time and you have like a half hour, 20 minutes, do a higher intensity workout.
Hoffman says it's a matter of time and preference when it comes to deciding which workout is best for you. When it comes to the birds and the bees, parents may need to have the talk with their boys sooner rather than later. A recent study released by the American Academy of Pediatrics says boys are showing signs of puberty 2 years earlier than previously reported. The study says puberty has been seen as early as 9 years old in African Americans and 10 in Caucasians and Hispanics. Although no clear cause has been determined, some theories include higher obesity rates, lack of exercise, and various chemicals in foods and drinks. Researchers say it is uncertain if there will be any implications in the long term. To experience a fire at home can be one of the biggest nightmares. The fire department constantly tries to teach us about fire safety because it can happen to anyone.
Tim O'Toole has walked up these stairs many times at his house, 117 Fenton Avenue. This house is now part of an alarming statistic.
So it's really dry. If it catches fire, it'll burn right now.
A report from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission shows there was an average of 366,700 unintentional residential fires and property damages for $7 billion between 2008 and 2010.
What's it mean? What that means is we want a smoke detector in each room that we sleep in and outside of each sleeping area, and then one on each level.
The fire marshal says having functional smoke detectors in your house is important.
Should we burn candles unattended? What should we do if we have a grease fire? Just get out of the building and call the fire department.
I'm assuming the fire would have started whenever we started that dryer.
This is where the fire started 3 weeks ago when Tim and Candy wanted to dry their clothes. All you see now is the burn marks as they recover from the fire. 2,300 people on average die in fires every year in the US. But thankfully enough, no one was home when the fire broke out in Candy and Tim's house. But they still suffered loss.
We lost both of our cats, and the entire upstairs basement, or the entire upstairs floor had to be gutted to the studs after the fire. It was 99% smoke damage.
With its top story damaged, Tim can only walk down his stairs and wait for his house on Fenton Avenue to be fixed. Doug Amdam reporting for Studio One.
Tim and Candy had working smoke detectors in their house when the fire broke out. The fire department recommends to change the batteries in your smoke detector every time you set your clock for daylight savings time. And that's the news for now. Monty and Katie.
Thanks, Allie. And we did just change our clocks, so if you hadn't changed your batteries, you might want to do that.
Exactly. Well, it's time now for the weather news with Stephanie Waldroff.
Thanks, Katie and Monty. Right now, the Northeast is actually experiencing another storm after Hurricane Sandy. Right now, they are not experiencing a hurricane, though, but rather they are experiencing what is called a nor'easter. A nor'easter and a hurricane have a lot in common, but the main difference between the two is that a hurricane has warm air fueling it, and a nor'easter has cold air that is its fuel. Now, the nor'easter starts as a low-pressure system down in the Gulf of Mexico, and then as the jet stream moves through, it picks that low-pressure system up, and it actually brings it up the eastern coast, which is why places like Pennsylvania and New York are seeing its effects. Another thing that the jet stream does is it actually adds energy to the storm, and it causes the low-pressure system to strengthen, which then causes it to dump a lot of precipitation, along with strong winds and also large waves. Right now you can see this is the radar and satellite from the storm, and a lot of different mixes. We have some rain, we have some snow, and also a freezing mixture of precipitation, including sleet and freezing rain. And along with that, we have winds up to 60 miles an hour. So tropical storm force winds are with these storms, and then because of the strong winds, we also have large waves that are affecting the coastline and causing some minor flooding in some areas. Now, usually storms like this occur in between the months of October and April. For the rest of the week, though, we are going to have cooler than average conditions in the north central part of the United States, and then warmer than average conditions starting in Texas, stretching through the Ohio River Valley and up through Maine. And then as far as precipitation goes, we are going to see wetter than average conditions in the east because of that nor'easter that is affecting the area right now, and then also drier than average conditions in the desert, including areas of New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Now that brings us to our weather question of the day. Vehicles in colder climates are recommended to have engine coolant protected down to what temperature? We have -10 degrees, -20 degrees, -30 degrees, and -40 degrees. And later on in the show, we are going to have a story about how the cold weather affects your car.
All right, thank you, Stephanie, for that weather news.
Well, I know in our part of the country, at least, it does get to -40
Oh, it definitely does. Yep, every once in a while.
Okay, well, let's turn to some sports highlights and Brian Gendro.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. Athletes do many things to prevent injuries, including eating healthy and working out. A recent study shows another factor may be just as important that they may not realize. 8 hours of sleep at night can be just as beneficial to staying healthy and even more helpful preventing injuries. Researchers from the American Academy of Pediatrics say athletes who get adequate sleep are 68% less likely to get injured than those who don't. An efficient amount of sleep helps motor and cognitive skills work properly. It was previously thought that the amount and intensity of activities affected injury rates the most. The study shows the two key components are the athlete's age and the amount of sleep they get nightly. It's now time for the Studio One Sports Trivia question. Who was the last player to reach 2,000 rushing yards in a season? Your choices there: Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, and New Orleans' Deuce McAllister. The answer to that question will be coming up later on the show. And that's the sports for now. Monty and Katie?
Thanks for that, Brian. 007 is at it again as he embarks on his next mission. James Bond returns after disappearing and being presumed dead. Daniel Craig stars in the newest addition to the Bond series, Skyfall. We'll preview that film.
Also, curiosity can be one of our better traits. Our next guest says humans' desire to explore the unknown can lead us to other dimensions. That's next.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
Celebrating 25 years. You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks.
The familiar Space Shuttle program is now at rest. NASA plans on launching the Orion spacecraft in 2020. Associate Professor of Physics and Astrophysics Wayne Barkhouse has insight on the plans to return to space. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I have to ask, why the interest in space?
Well, it's something I've been interested in since I was in kindergarten, and actually I have proof of that. I have a picture of myself standing in front of a poster showing the Apollo capsule landing in the ocean. And so I know my interest. I can remember that actually date before that, so probably at the age of 3 or 4 or so.
Sure, and now here you are talking about it now, which is great. Yeah. Why do we invest so much into space travel?
And so it's very important. I mean, for example, the latest example, you think of Hurricane Sandy, and so be able to do the accurate forecasting that we need to give people a long time in order to prepare to do evacuations and that sort of thing. You really can do that best by having weather satellites in orbit. So that's just one small part of the space program that's extremely valuable and worth the money that we put into it every year.
Okay. Well, it's safe to say the shuttle is dead. Mm-hmm. What's next?
So presently NASA has plans to launch what's called the Space Launch System. So in some sense it's going back a little bit to the Apollo program when we landed men on the moon. And so it's Saturn V-like in terms of the capability of a rocket. It's a little bit more powerful than the Saturn V. It can launch a little bit heavier payload into orbit and beyond Earth orbit. But the idea is to go beyond the orbit that the shuttle usually went to, that is low Earth orbit, and finally go into places such as asteroids, to land on those, or at least nearby the asteroid, and sort of see what it's all about in terms of the composition or makeup. Eventually go on to Mars, and maybe even returning to the moon as sort of intermediate step.
Okay, and this is a rocket, right, that we're talking about? You know, we started with rockets, then we moved to the shuttle design, and going back, this is a mock-up picture of what it's going to look like. What are the advantages of the rocket?
Yeah, so one of the problems that we discovered was the way the shuttle design ended up being in its final form was not quite as safe as what we had liked. And so, as everyone knows, we lost 2 of the shuttles. The Apollo program and the Saturn V was actually a little safer in the sense of the way the design was with the rocket. You had an escape system set up on the top of the capsule. They're going to actually lift you away from the rocket if the rocket itself was having a problem that was going to blow up, in a few seconds later sort of thing. So it gave you a built-in redundancy in terms of safety. We didn't have quite that in for the shuttle program, but the shuttle was really designed to be reusable and to be cost-effective. And so the idea was to launch a rocket instead of throwing it away at the end, to return it to the Earth and then send it up again once you refurbish it. The problem was NASA was too optimistic. They thought they could turn the shuttle around every week or so. And if you fly a lot of flights, that reduces the cost per flight. But in practicality, that didn't work.
Sure. And, looking at the design, it looks, like I said, back in the 60s we had rockets and we were going into space. You think of the difference in technology from the 60s to now. Are we keeping up with the space exploration part of that as well, of the increase in technology? Are we in step with everything else, like cell phones and the rest of it?
Right. Actually, the structure of the rocket looks very similar to Saturn V, but actually the heart of it is a lot different. The main engines that would power the rocket, for example, are derived from the shuttle program. So they are advanced technology and high-performance engines. And we also developed for the first time in many, many years a liquid-fueled rocket specifically for this program. That's the J2X engine that will power the upper stage, for example, the second stage of the rocket. So we are using the latest, greatest technology and trying to get more payload up and into low Earth orbit, for example.
Okay. Now, it used to be a space race. Is it still that way, or is it more collaboration between countries?
Well, the space race itself was really politics. It was developed in the Cold War, and it was strictly between the Soviet Union and the United States. Now it's sort of open, and there's a lot of private organizations that are getting involved. You might have heard of the SpaceX recent launch, the Dragon capsule to the International Space Station. And so there are private entrepreneurs that are getting involved in developing these rocket systems, and they're doing it for a profit. A company does it for profit. They don't do it for the research and development type of thing. Their goal, of course, is to make money. And so the idea is that these private companies can actually get us into low Earth orbit, for example, a lot cheaper than what government-sponsored agencies can do. And so that's the hope. So a combination of private to sort of satisfy supplies the International Space Station, and NASA to push the envelope in exploring deep space.
Well, and you talk about the cost. Why is it worth it?
Well, it's worth in a sense, if you can just think of the grandiose idea, and there's lots of practicalities in terms of weather forecasting. Our GPS system is all based on having satellites in orbit, for example. But if you can think and lay back and philosophize, if you like, for a second, I mean, we have built into ourselves a wonder of the universe around us. And for example, who wouldn't want to peek over the crest of a hill on Mars to see what's there? All these sort of notions. It's built in to explore things which are unknown. And so that is sort of a driving, a motivation factor that's always ingrained into us. It's whether or not society will accept it. That's another thing, because of course these things cost money. So.
I have to ask you one last question. If you could jump on a rocket, would you go to space?
Definitely.
And why?
Because it's a new enterprise. It's exciting. It's a new adventure. And how often would someone say to you, would you like to go in space? Here's an opportunity. It's not going to happen very often, not in our lifetime. So.
All right, Wayne, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Coming up, children often make up games. We'll tell you how 2 boys created a game that has turned into an organized sport on many college campuses. Also, a trip to get your nails done for many seems like a luxury. We'll spend the day in the life of a woman on the other side of that luxury.
I'm Danielle Webster, and I'm a radio journalist with Prairie Public. I'm a UND and Studio One alum. Congratulations, Studio One, on 25 years.
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day. I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where personal connections matter, where classmates become friends, where leading scholars become mentors. Experience our expertise. Creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Bond is back, this time for his 50th anniversary. In the new movie Skyfall, Bond tests his loyalty to M when his past comes back to haunt her. An explosion kills 8 employees in the agency. Bond decides to return to London to help. Meanwhile, the identities of 3 other NATO agents are discovered and they are all killed. The agency decides to relocate everyone underground. Daniel Craig says there has been a consistency with the creation of the Bond movies.
There's a style, and there's a style we've been going, whether it's Gianni, the costume designer, or or the sets, Dennis's sets.
The movie was filmed below London's street surface. The underground environment is based on what was referred to as the Churchill bunker system in early history. During World War II, many government offices were relocated underground for protection, just like the headquarters in the movie. The movie will hit theaters November 9th. Now it's time to look at the events happening in your area. They help us scratch and itch, pick up an object, and make our hands look tidy. Today we spend a day in the life of someone who helps keep nails looking their best.
Everyone has a different passion. For Tina Wang, it's a part of your body that always seems to need clipping.
I like to do nails, make them look pretty, do different colors.
The chance to bring color to the end of people's digits adds more responsibility than you see in a bottle.
You have to take care of everything from the supplies to the customer to the employee.
Just like fingers, her customers' requests come in many shapes and sizes.
No matter what kind of customer, when they come in here, we try to do our best.
Her clients recognize her hard work.
Customer service is top-notch. Anything they do is to perfection.
Everyone is looking for a new way to spice up their nails. When in doubt, Tina offers some free nail knowledge.
Something you're not sure of, they give you some advice on what to do.
With so much variety in her job, Tina has yet to find an itch she can't scratch.
So far, I don't have a worst part yet, so far I have pretty good clients.
The constant upkeep of nails may seem like a chore, but for Tina, it's what keeps her passion growing strong. With photographer Kelby Leak, I'm Kayla Jarris reporting for Studio One.
Tina says she and her husband always dreamed of being their own bosses. Their nail studio made that happen. Coming up, the first snowfall means another season of winter driving. We'll tell you 3 important tips that every car owner should know. That story plus news, sports, and weather in the next half hour of Studio One.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
From the University of North Dakota, celebrating 25 years, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for joining us today. One of the topics we will explore is mapping out the DNA of babies.
Right, yeah, they have the technology now to actually predict diseases that these kids could develop later on in life.
And so, because they can do that, it's getting affordable to some people. They're asking whether people want to do this. There is the question, should we be doing this? Because some people say it's good to see forward and plan for disease. Others say it's a lot of stress. So there's a lot of back and forth going on. We went out and asked people their opinions, and their answers are coming up. Also, in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, Alzheimer's is known as the long goodbye and can be hard on family members as well. We'll explain why there's a growing demand for memory care facilities.
Also, she's a sports fan, bridge player, and an internet sensation. We'll tell you one woman's story of getting thrust into the spotlight.
And some people need sweets. Later, we will meet a woman who acknowledges others' cravings while satisfying her own love for crafting. But first, here's today's news with Ali Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. As President Obama looks forward to his new term, many foreign leaders are also speaking out on his re-election. The Israeli Prime Minister issued a statement Thursday that he is looking forward to working with Obama. He hopes to further strengthen the relationship between the two countries. Relations with Israel was a hot-button issue during the foreign policy portion of the 2012 presidential debate. Mitt Romney made a visit there last summer. Many believed his diplomatic ties with Israel would be a swinging factor towards the Republican Party. Yet the country's prime minister believes Obama's extended term will re-energize the ongoing process to create peace. Americans were not the only ones celebrating Obama's re-election into office. Residents of a Japanese city were also cheering in the streets, but for a different reason. Obama is also the name of their town. During his first run for office, local business owners sold t-shirts and posters stating, "I love Obama." Obama means little beach in Japanese. November may be thought of as the month for Thanksgiving, elections, and now mustaches. A month-long event called Movember is creating awareness for men's health. Movember started in Australia almost 10 years ago and has grown into a global movement. But it's not just growing worldwide, it's growing facially as well.
It's a month dedicated to raising awareness about men's health issues. What happens is at the 1st of November, men shave, they're supposed to shave at least, and then you grow your facial hair over the course of the month.
Since its creation, Movember has raised almost $300 million, and that has caught people's attentions. Through actions and words, these men with mustaches or mobros raise awareness. They prompt private and public conversations around the often ignored issue of men's health. Last year, 800,000 participants helped raise over $125 million. The average U.S. price for gasoline took its biggest dip since 2008 in the last 2 weeks. One survey says the price dip is thanks to one very unlikely source, Hurricane Sandy. Because of the storm, many consumers were left unable to travel, resulting in less demand for gas. Prices fell an average of 21 cents across the country. This is the highest drop since December 2008. Then gas prices fell 21.9 cents due to the petroleum crash during the global recession. Memory loss that disrupts daily life may be a symptom of Alzheimer's or dementia. With the number of people diagnosed with memory loss disease on the rise, so is the demand for memory care facilities.
Memory loss is a scary concept. According to the numbers from the Alzheimer's Association, 5.4 million people in the U.S. are living with Alzheimer's or a form of dementia. Memory care facilities are here to help, provide, and serve those who cannot help themselves.
We provide assistance and direction for people that have from very limited memory loss to very severe types of dementia.
Along with providing food, shelter, and a hot bath, memory care facilities encourage activities, whether it be singing, putting together a puzzle, or socializing. However, the cost for family members to live in these facilities can get pricey. The average cost for 1 month can be anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000.
Is independent where they can do this on their own. Obviously, we can't charge them for that, but say we have someone in a wheelchair that needs to be totally cared for, it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
The Alzheimer's Association predicts by the year 2050, over 13 million people will be diagnosed with memory-related diseases. Along with that, memory care will be in a huge demand. As facilities brace for the increase, it's a safe bet there will be a place for hope and a home for those with memory loss.
The movement right now is to have assisted living and assisted living with memory care.
As of now, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the U.S. The disease cannot be prevented, cured, or slowed down. I'm Stephanie Getzman, reporting for Studio One.
It's estimated that 800,000 people who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's live alone. And that's the news for now. Monty and Katie?
Thanks a lot, Allie. Well, I know I think we've slipped past fall. Don't you think?
Yep, we're starting to make that transition into winter.
Yeah.
Well, it's time now for the weather news. Let's go talk to Stephanie Waldroth.
Thanks, Katie and Monty. Right now, the Northeast is actually experiencing some winter-like weather with another storm. It's the last thing they need after last week's Hurricane Sandy. But like I said, the nor'easter began pounding the region on Wednesday, bringing lots of snow, rain, and also mixed precipitation, along with very strong winds and large waves. Parts of northern Rhode Island, like the rest of the region, are covered in a couple inches of snow, making driving a chore for most, and along with the bad driving conditions, it is making the cleanup for Sandy take that much longer. Many people have been evacuated because of the cold temperatures, and because of the lack of power from Sandy last week, there is a lack of heat throughout many of the homes, so many evacuation orders were given. Now, the nor'easter caused 80,000 new power outages, which caused the total number of power outages between Sandy and this storm to be 400,000. 60-mile-per-hour winds contributed to that and also contributed to the National Weather Service issuing winter storm warnings. And because of the winter storm warnings, the strong winds, we also saw some minor flooding because of the large waves. Now, winter is coming, and you might have to add a couple more things to your checklist.
Mother Nature is going to bring its most ferocious battle, winter, to your daily ride. The way to counterattack is simply routine maintenance to your vehicle.
Oil changes is the biggest thing. Second to that would probably be just letting your car warm up in the morning.
Warming up allows your vehicle to run more efficiently. The battery is one of the most crucial components of a car. Its quality will diminish if not warmed up before driving. Though overlooked, Craig Price also encourages lifting up the wiper blades while scraping the windshield, as it can ruin the wiper motor.
People just coming in trying to use the wiper blades to scrape the snow. They're pretty costly. Generally speaking, it's around $300, so it's worth it to take the time and just lift those up and make sure that they're not frozen.
Price says good tire pressure and tread will help with better traction.
Federal law mandates that each and every tire has something called a wear indicator strip. Now, once the tire reaches this point, it's important to change your tire before it ends up something like this.
Low tire pressure can affect stopping distances as well, and obviously when you're on ice you want all that you can get. So
it's better to face the pain of winter preparing your car than the pain of an empty wallet fixing one. With photographer Kelby Leak, I'm Kellen Peters reporting for Studio One Weather.
Price also says to get regular oil changes and to check for corrosion on the battery connector and other parts. Now that brings us back to our weather question of the week. Vehicles in colder climates are recommended to have engine coolant protected down to what temperature? And the correct answer is negative 40 degrees below zero. So now that the weather is changing, make sure you have the right oil in your car.
Good advice. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of things you should look at when you switch over to winter.
It seems that way.
All right, well, let's switch over to sports right now. Brian Gendro.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. Many people remember playing made-up games as children. One game, thought up by 2 middle school kids, is now making its way across the nation.
Taking a walk by this, you may think it looks like a jumbled mess. But to the athletes playing it, it's flowing naturally. This game is John Ball.
1, 2, 3, John! Where you take your wiffle ball bat, and you have these big balls from Target, and you basically use your bat to hit the balls at other people.
It's a unique sport made up of many different game types within it. Players say getting bored isn't an option. It started with 2 kids in Minnesota, one of them named John. Gaining popularity, John Ball is making its mark on college campuses nationwide.
So currently John Ball's in Minnesota, North Dakota, Kansas, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and I think at one point we were trying to start up a chapter in Alabama.
Making its way down the Mississippi River, players say the game is a fun way to stay active.
I think it's become popular because it's a fun sport. It's a way for college kids to just loosen up and relax and just do something goofy, and it's like memories from childhood, and it's a fun sport.
John Ball gets all different types of athletes, even people who have never grabbed a wiffle ball bat in their life. Many people come to college looking for a new experience. With John Ball, you get it.
This one, it's more unique, I think, because well, it's dodgeball with wiffle bats, and it's pretty much a lot of fun. That's why I love John Ball.
These students have found a way to bring childhood recess to higher education. With photographer Kelby Leak, I'm Kyle Searockers reporting for Studio One.
This last summer, the creators of John Ball organized their first national tournament. It was a weekend full of John Ball and meeting with other chapters. Now the answer to this week's Studio One Sports Trivia question: who was the last player to reach 2,000 rushing yards in a season in the NFL? The answer is Chris Johnson. He did it in 2009, tallying 2,006 yards. That's a sport. Monty and Katie?
Thanks, Brian. When it comes to stringed instruments, it is especially important they are tuned and cleaned. We'll meet a man who puts his passion for music into making sure the cello sounds just right.
Also, when the Olive Garden restaurant in Grand Forks, North Dakota opened its doors, a local critic said it was the big deal for the community. Little did she know how big of a deal her column was about to become. We'll tell you the story of how one woman went viral.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
Most people don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. My time clock is around the clock. My ideas are fresh, but they need research and development. My business plan includes marketing strategies, legal documents, and a budget. My startup became possible through mentorship, hands-on experience, and learning from experts in the field. The Center for Innovation has contributed to more than 400 University of North Dakota student startups. Come with an idea. Leave with a business.
From the University of North Dakota, celebrating 25 years, this is Studio One.
People play instruments as a hobby. One man has a closer relationship with stringed instruments.
Without the presence of music in a concert hall, all that can be heard is silence. Will Richardson strives to bring music to the listener's ears.
It's wanting to keep it sounding great all the time so that you have this like a mouthpiece for your the inner workings of your brain, I guess.
Will says it is much more than making music with an instrument. He says taking care of the instrument is crucial for producing the best sound possible.
If you do take care of your instrument sounds better. So that's also important. If you want to sound good, it's not just practicing, but it's also how you maintain your instrument.
There you go. That's all you need to do.
Will says extreme warm and cold temperatures can have an effect on the quality of the instrument's sound. Will also says his customers develop a close relationship with their instruments.
Especially, you know, with the cello, you're hugging it all the time, and it's like this big thing that you carry around.
Nothing is better than getting a fixed-up friend.
I mean, this one's a little bit forward. I'll fix it up, new sound post, new bridge. And then when they get it back and then they play it, and is this my violin? You know, that's probably the best thing. It's like, what? This is mine.
Will's vital ambition is to keep the music alive through mending the wounded instruments for others. With photographer Dog Amdam, I'm Jimmy Geffro reporting for Studio One.
Richardson has a diploma in violin repair. He's also been a teacher of stringed instruments of all ages. Everyone wants their children to be free from disease. It's now possible to map out the DNA of newborns to predict their future ailments. In 2003, the first test was $2.7 billion. The test price has fallen to less than $10,000 now. We wanted your thoughts on whether newborns should have their DNA tested to predict disease.
Honestly, I think that the earliest warning would give somebody the best chance to prepare for it.
I think it's important because I think that way the parents will know in advance.
I mean, as far as treating diseases, I don't see a problem with it.
I would never test my children, personally, no.
To prevent others from getting disease, I suppose, to help prevention, I suppose. Yep.
I think that's up to the parent. I think it's a personal choice that they have to make.
I think this should be something that's totally up to the parents as to something that they might want to have.
No, I don't. I don't believe that I would want to know if my child had any type of a disease.
Yeah, I do. I think it's important for the parents to know.
I was actually asked that question just by the doctor, and I refused.
This chilly season seems to bring viruses with it, but one grandma was faced with a different situation when she went viral last winter.
Marilyn Hagerty stays busy cheering on the local college team. Still doesn't miss a trick in her bridge club and writes 5 columns a week for the local paper. But her life took an interesting twist one day when the 86-year-old got an unusual phone call.
So I said, you know, I don't have time for all this crap. I don't care if I am viral. I am going to play duplicate bridge, and I don't have time.
The first things that came out were the negative things about the people making fun of her for reviewing the Olive Garden.
Marilyn reviews restaurants for one of her columns. Little did she know that her latest article would give the local celebrity national attention.
And then I got an email saying, do you know what's happening to you? And you have gone viral. I didn't know what viral meant. And he worked.
And what is viral, you may ask?
He said, well, it's like when you're sick and you're viral, it spreads. So I didn't know whether it was a sickness or what had happened, but.
Her thrust into the spotlight got her 15 seconds of fame, but what meant most to her personally was when she recently won an award after becoming a national figure.
The frosting on the cake came early this month when I was awarded the Al Newharth Award for Journalism.
She received the recognition at the University of South Dakota, her alma mater.
That is so prestigious, and for somebody that has worked so hard for her career and keeps at it and at it and at it to have that kind of success and recognition is really exciting.
Marilyn learned early on what hard work meant, as her parents died while her and her siblings were still young. She also knows the importance of an education.
I felt challenged to go to college and get there somehow. And if you really want to go to college, you can get there.
The little old lady now lives in a little white house with an attention-seeking little friend named .com. Whether it's playing bridge with her friends or going to the local athletic events, Marilyn keeps doing her everyday activities, even after going viral. Cecilia Angeseth for Studio One.
Marilyn was a guest on the Anderson Cooper Show in March. She is also partnering with chef and television personality Anthony Bourdain to publish a book of her restaurant reviews. Still to come, our next guest gets hired to bake the perfect cake. This comes loaded with pressure to create the customer's vision. Next, we'll meet the woman who knows all too well that it is not always a piece of cake.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota.
You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to produce guests, you get to do the reporting side of it.
It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day.
I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
Cake is usually a part of special gatherings. Creativity can be used to make them works of art. Cake decorator Jen Kiefer is here to demonstrate how to decorate a fall-flavored cake. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So when did this interest in cake decorating start for you?
About 10 years ago now.
Okay, so you've been involved in cake decorating for 10 years. Have you seen a change in what cake decorating was like when you began to now?
We've done a lot of the ma and pa icings and moved into the fondant, which has created many different avenues for us to explore.
Okay, and you've also been involved in cake decorating, you know, in contests even. And you did one recently where you created this snowy white owl. And we actually have a picture of that, and you're holding up your awards there. How difficult was it to create the owl?
I basically went online and took pictures online of all directions of the owl, so that way I knew the dimensions of the owl. And it took approximately 12 hours of labor to complete the owl.
So quite a bit of work goes into
yes.
this. Now I see we have some very intricate cakes already made here, and we have one in the middle that still needs to be decorated. So what exactly are we doing here today?
We are going to be making a fall decorated cake, and I'm going to have you helping me make some fall leaves to add to it.
And I'm willing to help. This looks good. What are some of the things that are going into this?
We are using our colored icings in fall colors to decorate for a fallish looked cake.
How is the icing made?
We have our icing we purchase is shortening, powdered sugar, and water. And we mix our own colors to whatever customer orders are.
All right, well, let's get started.
All right.
Okay, and so here, what is that? This is fondant, correct?
Yep.
And what exactly is fondant?
Fondant is a mixture of syrups and powdered sugar and shortening, and it's just mixed to basically Play-Doh.
Okay, and we actually have a question from a person in our one of our viewers, and Bethany says, is there an easy way to make fondant, you know, just by ingredients at the grocery store?
There's a lot of different recipes online. Allrecipes.com is a good place to get a recipe for that.
Okay. Well, and now this is like a leaf-shaped pattern, and I'm going to just kind of cut them out here to help you decorate the cake. And you can start doing the flowers here.
Okay. And right now I'm making is a rose, and a rose nail is what makes these so beautiful.
Okay. And yeah, how exactly are you doing that there? You just kind of move it around?
Yep.
To form a rose shape, okay. And then how do you place that on the cake?
It's picked off with the scissors so that we don't damage how the rose looks, and then we just put it right there.
Okay, wonderful. And here I think I made a leaf.
You did good, it looks wonderful.
And so yeah, it's just a cutout, and then there's actually a leaf imprint here on the cutout.
Yep.
Okay, and then approximately how long does it take you to make, you know, an average cake?
Usually a birthday cake can be done in approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Wedding cakes can run a couple hours, actually.
How do you come up with some of your ideas for the cakes?
Customers usually bring in pictures that they've found online, and we try to get them as close or similar to what they have brought in for us.
And now, you know, there's a bunch of TV shows out there, you know, Cake Boss, Ace of Cakes and stuff. Do you ever get compared to those?
Actually, a lot of people ask us if we watch those shows, and we do get some ideas off of them, but most of our ideas come from the internet.
Okay, and yeah, and on those shows, you know, you see the delivery is a huge part of the process. You know, what do you think of the delivery?
It's nerve-wracking. It's a lot of work put into these cakes, and your last test is to get the cake there in one piece. So if it falls apart, you start all over again.
Right. And yeah, I mean, have you ever had to start over again? Did you get to that point where? When was that?
Oh, about a year ago, I was delivering a cake, and we were at the place that we were delivering it, and we opened the door, and the door smashed back into the cake, and we had to start all over again.
Oh no. What are some, you know, the intricate things you do? How do you know, what is maybe the most intricate cake you've ever made?
I would say right now, to date, it would probably be this peacock cake beside me. There was a lot of detail into the cake, and the challenge was basically the tail was probably the hardest part of the cake.
All right, and where do we put these leaves on the cake?
Those we're just going to basically stick in any old place.
Okay. Well, that's looking like a fall flavored cake to me. What's your favorite part about what you do?
I would definitely say the creativity of the cake.
Okay, well, that looks awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota. We'll be right back after this.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where they learn from leading experts, share in discoveries and create knowledge. Experience our expertise, creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota.
You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to produce gas, you get to do the reporting side of it.
It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
Tune in next week on Studio One. We'll meet a man who stepped away from the standard siding for his house. He covered the entire outside in multicolored polka dots. Plus, we'll have other news and entertainment stories for you.
We're going to leave you now with pictures of kids learning how to burn off all of their energy. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.